Hello and welcome back here. In this project, what we're going to be doing is we're going to convert this white wall right here over to a deep red. And the color that we're going to be using is a Benjamin Moore. It's a historical color, and the name of it is Classic Burgundy HC 182. And I'll show you the color from the inside of the lid here. Okay, so it's a deep red. Okay, and again, the top coat paint that I'm going to be using is the Benjamin Moore Aura, and this is the matte sheen here. Okay, and whenever you go with a deep red, I wouldn't use anything higher than a matte because it doesn't really look good if it's too shiny. The highest that I would go is a eggshell, but we're going to be using a matte sheen here. So before we get started, we want to take care of the floors here. As you can see, I put down the X-board, and it's made by Trimaco, okay? And it's great to cover the floors so you don't mess up the floors, okay? So what we have here is a wall, and the name of this off-white right here is Indian white, and it's OC-88, okay? Now, to make matters more difficult, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to prime 2/3 of the wall white, okay? So anytime you try to use this deep red over a brilliant white, it's really tough, okay? So, and I'm gonna leave the lower third of the wall, the Indian white, just so you can see how the deep red goes on top and whatnot, okay? So, I have my paint set up right here, and I already have the roller all loaded up with the primer here, and this is the type of roller that I'm using. I'm using a Benjamin Moore Aura 1/2-inch roller sleeve here, okay? And the primer that I have is the Fresh Start, and this is a Benjamin Moore, okay? And I have it tinted towards cloud white, okay? And the cloud white is a difficult color to achieve too. It's a white, but it's a softer white with a little bit of yellow in it. Okay, so it's basically a white, but with a yellow undertone to it, so it looks soft and it really looks nice in a home that gets this southern exposure here. And another type of primer that I'm going to use too for the top part to cancel out the white is this primer right here, and the name of this is Amherst Gray, and it's HC 167. And again, this is the Benjamin Moore Fresh Start here, and I'll pop off the top of the can here just to show you guys what this is going to look like here. Okay, so it's like a darker gray. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the Amherst Gray on the top 2/3, or I'm going to prime the wall white first, and then prime gray the top. So let's get started here. So in the paintbrush that I'm going to be using is a Corona Excalibur Chinex, and it's a 1.5-inch, and it's an Angular. So I'm just going to take this out here. So again, just for the sake of the video, or for any of you guys at home, where your walls are already white and you want to use this deep red here. So, and anytime you try to use a deep red on top of a white, it's really hard. because the deep reds don't cover that good. Again, because red is the lowest wavelength, and it's basically like clear, but if you look at it in a can, yeah, it does look red, but it doesn't really have a lot of pigment to it, and I'll show you that. So we got that there. I'll use the roller here, okay? And whenever you roll, you just want to start in like the middle of the wall here, and don't start by putting a lot at the top of the wall, because it's tougher to take away once it's up there. And I'm just gonna try to roll as close to the corners as possible here. And again, this is a great primer to use, because it hides great, and it covers good. And once you get to the top, just turn it and get as close to the ceiling as possible there. Okay, so I'll put this down here, and we'll give this an hour to dry out. Okay, and then we'll be back to apply the primer to the top half of the wall. So we'll see you on the next one. Okay guys, so welcome back here. We've given the white primer that was tinted towards a cloud white a few hours to dry out, and it is dry now. So now, again, what we're going to be doing is the desired top coat is the Classic Burgundy, and again, it's a deep red. So this is the deep red here, and again, we're going on top of the color white here. So if you want to get this shade of deep red, you have to first get rid of the white, okay? And the way that we're gonna get rid of the white is not by tinting a primer red for the red to cover the white, because the red doesn't cover the white. The white will always show through the red. So we're gonna tint the white a dark gray here. And again, this is the Fresh Start primer. It's made by Benjamin Moore, and I had them tinted towards the color of Amherst Gray. And again, this is a historical color also, and it's HC167 here. Okay. And again, we're going to be using the Aura roller, and it's a 1/2-inch nap sleeve. And I have the roller and the primer already set up in the pan there. And again, I'm going to be using the Corona Excalibur, and this is 1.5 inches, and it's an angular brush here. So we'll put this down here. Now you want to use a good type of primer, because a lot of the primers that you can buy at the store, they won't cover in just one coat. So you may have to do a few coats of a gray if you're not using this Benjamin Moore primer right here. So just gonna dip the brush in here, and again guys, only load up the brush like 1/4 of the way. You don't need to really get the paint in all the way up to the stock, because then it's a pain in the butt to clean out, and it just makes a mess, and then it starts to dry. So I'm gonna come up here and just carefully cut in against the ceiling here. Okay, so I just lay the paint down probably like 1/8 of an inch shy of the ceiling, and then just pull across. And in the corner here, we don't really need to worry about cutting in, because we're just going to reprime this when I'm done here. So I'm only going to bring this down probably 1/3 of the way here. Okay, and make sure that your cut the areas where you cut in, it covers in one coat here. So you don't want any of the white to show through. Because again, the white, you have to get rid of the white. Because the white will just constantly show through the red. Okay, so again, it's very important to cancel out the white there. Okay, so I'll put this down here, and with my roller here, again, this is a 1/2 inch nap here. Okay, and just start here. Okay, and these rollers are great because they don't spatter the paint, and they lay the paint on nice, and the way that the edge of both sides of the roller is tapered off. I'll show you guys here with the camera. See how it's tapered off nice and clean? That's going to allow me to get the edge of the roller as close to the ceiling or the sides of the wall as possible here. So I know that my head is in the way here. So you can see how close I can get the roller into the corner without getting the paint on the other side of the wall here and the ceiling here. Okay, so once it's like that, I'll just bring this down here to make a fresh line, go up, come off, go up, come off. Okay, now go back and look at your work. Make sure that there's no areas where you can still see white, because again, if there is white, it's when you go to put your top coat on, which is the Classic Burgundy, the white is going to peer through, and you're not going to want that. Okay, so make sure that it covers up the white there. Okay, so we brought the paint down 1/3 of the way with the Amherst Gray now, and then we have the Cloud White in the middle part of the wall, and again we have the Indian White on the lower part of the wall here. And you can really see that contrast from the Cloud White to the Indian White. You can see how dark of an off-white that the Indian White is here. And it doesn't really look like it's that dark until you actually put the Cloud White up against it. So we have these 3 colors here. We're just going to let the Amherst Gray, again, it's HC167. We're just going to let that dry out for a few hours, and then we'll be back to apply the deep red, the Classic Burgundy. So we'll see you in a few hours. Hello and welcome back here. We've given the Amherst Gray a few hours to dry out here, and again, it's very important that the gray covers all the white. So after your first coat of the Amherst Gray, go back and look around and make sure that there's no white specks or streaks that are showing through the gray, because those will show up when you go to apply the deep red here. Okay, so again, we have the Amherst Gray HC167, we have the Cloud White, and then we have the Indian White down here. So this is a good example. We have 3 different scenarios here when applying the deep red or the Classic Burgundy. So if you starting off with a white wall, and if you don't prime first, you're going to deal with this. And if you start off with the walls like this with the Indian White and don't think you need to prime because this does have a little bit of color to you, you're going to see what happens when you go to apply the Classic Burgundy here. Okay, so let's get started. This is going to be the fun part here. So I have the Classic Burgundy in the roller tray right here, and again I'm going to be applying it with this roller here. Again, this is a Aura roller. and it's made by Benjamin Moore, and again, it's a 1/2-inch nap. And again, I'm going to be using my Corona Excalibur 1.5-inch Chinex bristle brush here. And again, I love these because they're easy to clean up with, and they last a long time. So again, we're just going to load up the last quarter of the bristles here, and we're going to cut in now. Okay. So again, I'm just going to come within like a 1/4 of an inch of the top of the wall, where the wall meets the ceiling here, and just cut across. Okay. In the corners, going to work it up and pull across. That's going to take care of that there. And again, we don't need to worry about the corners here because we're just going to reprime the wall after we're done here. Okay, so always go back up, and I'll come down with it, and I'll work this to the edge there, and slowly drag that across there, work it into the corner, and come back there. Okay, and that looks pretty good to me there. So put this aside here, and I'll slowly cut in the corner of the wall here. I'm going to try to lay this on as thick as I can get it without leaving it too thick so it sags. And I can already see that, especially down here or in the white here, it's not covering great here. So that's going to take care of that there. And I'll just cut in along the bottom here. And you can see when I cut in on the Indian white here, the white just peers through. Okay, and I'll load the brush back up and try to leave a lot more, but it's not really going to matter because this stuff doesn't cover great. Okay, so it's cut in there. Put this down, and now I'm going to grab the roller here. I have it all loaded up here. Okay, we'll start here. And again, when you roll out a wall, you don't want to press in hard with the paint. You just want to lightly go over the surface here. So I'm going to come as close to the corners as possible here. Okay, I'll grab my stool, and come to the top. I'll turn the roller and get as close to the ceiling as possible there. And I'm able to get to within 1/2 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch there. So roll up. As close to the corner there as possible, and I have it all loaded up there. Now let's come all the way up, come down, come up, come down, and lay it off up. Turn it to the bottom, come close to the bottom. Okay, put that down there. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do, so you can actually see it right there, and I'll take the camera off here and bring this closer so you guys cannot see here. So we'll start with the top here where I primed the gray first, and you can see how wonderful of a job it did in covering in just one coat there. And now when we get to the middle here, you can actually see that line right here where I stopped with the gray. Okay, and as we come down here, this is the line right here where the Indian white starts. Okay, so I'll try to get in close to the corners here so you can see what happens when you put the deep red right on top of the white there. Okay, and as this dries, you'll better be able to see all the white that comes through the areas where I didn't prime it gray first. So just try to get in real close there. Give this a few hours to dry out, and again I'll show you guys some more of the video when it dries out. So we'll see you on the next one. Okay guys, so we've given the wall like 2 hours to dry out here, and now we're going to zoom in. And we'll start up top. You can see the line right here at the bottom where I started the primer. And we'll look in the corners, and this all looks good even after just one coat, okay? And now I'll bring the camera down to the middle where the white was. So that's what you get when you try to apply a deep red right on top of the white here. And down here where the Indian white was, it's basically the same thing as the cloud white. And you can just see all the white that is peering through. Okay. So this is your foundation now that you have to work with, and when you keep going to apply more coats of this red on top of this foundation that isn't uniform, you can see the white still peering through. It's just not going to cover, and it could take multiple coats, like even up to 8, and it still won't look right. So that's why you have to start with that gray primer to cancel out the white, so that you don't get like this part right here with the white. Okay, because again, these red paints, I know that they look like they're a solid red in the can, but they're really not. They're basically clear or translucent, and they don't cover well, especially over white. So we'll be back on the next one to apply the second top coat of the deep red. So we'll see you on the next one. Okay, so we're back here to apply the second coat of the Classic Burgundy here. And from the prior video, you can see how this stuff covers over the gray primer and over the white primer, and then the color of the wall, which was Indian gray here. So I'm going to load up here. I'm going to start to apply the last coat here to the top of the wall here. And again, this is a matte sheen, and with these reds, you don't really want to use anything higher than a eggshell, because they just don't look good when it's too shiny. And you have to be careful too, because some of the eggshells that you use from different types, from different paint companies, some of the eggshells are too shiny, okay? And I know that one, for instance, if you use the beer paint that you buy at Home Depot, their eggshell is almost like a semi-gloss in a Benjamin Moore. So you have to be careful there because it won't look right. So again, this is a matte sheen. So I think that either a flat or a matte works the best. But if you want the added protection, then I would go with the eggshell. If you're worried about the kids putting their hands on the wall and stuff like that, and you want to be able to wash the wall, then I would go with the eggshell. But again, we're using matte there. So it's cut in now, and I'm going to load up the roller. Again, this is a 1/2 inch roller, and it's made by Benjamin Moore, and it's specifically made for the Aura paints, and I like it. I like these because of the tapered edge, which allows me to get in tight to the corners here, because whenever you roll, you want to roll as close to the corners as possible so that the texture is consistent and you don't get that line up at the top of the wall. Okay. Again, you don't want to roll too fast or press in too hard with the roller, because then you're going to ruin the roller, and then once the roller is compressed, it's never going to lay down the paint right. Okay, so I'll come down, come as close to the baseboard as possible, and then we'll just go up with it. Come down, come up with it. Start in the middle, come down, and come up with it. Okay, and that lays off the paint. Okay. While it's still wet, now this is still going to dry. So the paint right now looks a little bit brighter, especially because I have the light coming to the side of it. Okay, so you're not going to be able to really see much here. So we'll let this dry out, and then we'll be back to see the final results. Okay, so we've given the wall about an hour to dry out here, and I have the light shining sideways on the wall because it's a cloudy day. So we'll start here at the top. The corners look good. The base looks good here. And I'll slowly come down the wall here, and we'll try to get real close. And now you're starting to see the middle of the wall where I painted over the white primer. And you can still see the white peering through here. And you can see it in the middle of the wall there. There's still those specks here. Okay, so again, the white is always going to peer through the red. So that's why it's so important that you prime the walls first with that darker gray color. The Amherst Gray seems to work great for this. And you can really see it there. Come down to the bottom here. This is where I cut in. You can still see it's really white there. And right there. Okay. Okay, so you can see by the video there how important it is, especially when applying a deep red over a white wall, to prime the wall in a darker gray first to get rid of the white or cancel the white here. So again, the primer that I use is a Benjamin Moore Fresh Start here, and it's Amherst Gray, and it's HC 167. and this is the color here that helps cancel out the bright white or even the Indian white here. And the top coat that I use to cover in just 2 coats on top of the tinted gray primer is this stuff right here. It's a Benjamin Moore Aura, and this is a matte sheen. And the matte sheen is going to look great with a red finish. Again, you don't want to use anything higher than an eggshell, because when it's too shiny, it just doesn't look right here. So again, this is the Classic Burgundy, and it's a historical color, and it's HC 187. So I hope that you've enjoyed these tips and techniques to use when trying to use a deep color red over a white or an Indian white. And you can tell from like the corners. Now, if you didn't use that gray, then I would probably need to do at least 2 more coats of this deep red here for it to cover. And there's no sense in doing 5 or 6 coats of this, okay? Because again, the white is going to constantly shine through. So again, you have to cancel out the white, especially when painting over a red, because right now it's a cloudy day, and if the sun was out, you'd be able to see a lot more here. So whenever you're working with a deep red, just consider either to prime it gray. You don't always need to prime it gray. You can use the deep base red if you're going over a color that isn't white, okay? Like if the walls were already gray, or not even gray, but if they were a blue, or not like a bright blue, but some of the colors you can use a tinted red base. But just remember, if you're going over white, the red isn't going to get rid of the white like a gray will. So I hope that you've enjoyed this short video series, and I'll see you guys on the next one.